There's only one philosophy that I can confidently say changed my life. And no, it wasn't the Stoics. Back when I was at university, I had a delightfully crackpot philosophy professor. He was just nuts, hilariously nuts. I mean, he was wide-eyed, just a few hairs left on his head, chain-smoking, leathery skin, ate Carl's Jr. every day for every meal. It was the only thing we ever saw him eating. And I took literary criticism from him. I never really learned what literary criticism was or is. I'm probably better for it. This man would take you on journeys throughout history, time, and space to the far reaches of the human mind. His classes were old-fashioned, lecture style. None of this newfangled call and response or discussion. It stressed out my type A classmates, but I loved it. On a sunny day in April, he gave a lecture that became my favorite philosophical lesson that to this day I hold above all others. And it's basically boiling down to the fact that it's not that important. It doesn't matter what we figure out. If you're like me, you've tied your head in knots over the meaning of life until you've thought yourself into some very dark, cobwebby corners. Does anything really mean anything? Does the universe care? By the time I took this class, I had developed quite an annoyed attitude towards philosophy during my liberal arts education, because the philosophy majors that I met who were taking classes alongside me tended to be broke, angry, depressed, and, sometimes overweight. And I believe in only taking advice from people that I want to be like, and I didn't want to be like any of the philosophy majors that I met. I enjoyed philosophical ideas, but I didn't want to be broke and angry/depressed. I was seeking fulfillment and financial stability. I wanted to be secure and happy, not scowling at the customers of the cruel world under the same beanie as I made $8 lattes day after day. If that was where philosophy led, I wanted no part of it. And that was my mindset as I entered this literary criticism course on my path to becoming a licensed English teacher. One day, my professor was speaking about an infamous debate between a couple of dead Greeks no one has ever heard of that had left our minds tangled. He admitted that it had left his mind tangled. He paused, stood still for 10 seconds, looked at us and said, "This junk will turn your brain to oatmeal if you let it. If you want a reminder of what's important, ask the squirrels." Then he just continued going on about the debate. If you're confused, I was too at that point, until I realized that he was literally talking about asking the squirrels. I went to a very, very foliaged university, the bike-friendliest campus in the US. There are squirrels everywhere, fat ones, working together to try to steal your sandwiches that you've left out of arm's reach on your picnic as you sit on the quad. I was thinking about his lesson as I walked back to my bike and got ready to ride home. And some chittering noises alerted me to a few squirrels in the trees above me. I looked up, decided to test my professor's advice, selected the fattest looking squirrel of the bunch and said, "Hey you, what do you think of Plato's allegory of the cave?" The squirrel stared back at me and then ran up the tree. The lesson sunk in, and it's been one of the most liberating of my life. It works with any bit of nature. Do you have a hard question about the meaning of life? Ask a dandelion. Look a tree directly in the bark and ask it what it thinks about the allegory of the cave. Ask a river how it feels that the frog sunk in it with the scorpion on its back. Talk to a woodpecker and ask it about the latest political developments. It's always the same result. Ask a puppy what it thinks about our broken and yet somehow still endlessly discussed political system. A dog will gladly remind you that your anxiety and outrage aren't helping you stay present. A duck won't be furious which of the many nonsense-talking politicians is talking the most nonsense lately. Neither should you. Politicians universally talk nonsense. Happiness-boosting information in the fear-mongering nightmare that is your news feed is hard to come by. The 24-hour news cycle makes billions cultivating anxiety and fear so that you spend money to alleviate that anxiety and fear. So find whatever animal is closest to you and ask it what it thinks about the latest outrage-fueled issue. The organism's will to survive and the inevitable silence will return you to a calmer baseline. We live somewhere between the big questions and the small ones. At the end of the day, most of what happens will pass, affecting very little. Give yourself the peace of mind that comes when confusion and outrage are not a priority in your life. Ask the squirrels.